Yeah, well, EA Sports making some big announcements here at the E3 conference in Los Angeles. Among those announcements, FIFA EA Sports Club, the football club, which allows users to play games seamlessly across lots of different platforms. Joining me to talk about this, EA Sports president Peter Moore, who's basically a legend in the video game business. Before running the largest sports franchise in video games at EA, he ran the Xbox business for Microsoft. Peter, welcome to Bloomberg West. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
The talk of gaming right now seems to be these new innovative models introduced with the likes of Zynga Online, new platforms like Facebook.
Yeah.
It's changing development costs, it's changing gameplay, it's changing the way users pay for games.
Right.
You guys have been the master of the old business. Sell a game to a console that people want to come back and buy the new one every year.
Yeah.
How do you keep the old business alive and satisfy the opportunity for the new business?
Well, you're exactly right. The core business, the packaged goods business, is still alive and well. We sell millions of units, but the real growth is what we call digital, which can take so many different forms. But I think the real key is we're adding community layers, we're adding opportunities for microtransactions, downloadable content, and perhaps most importantly, building this element of persistence in the way that you play a game.
What does that mean?
What that means is if you come on, Cory, and your first interaction with FIFA is on the Facebook platform in our FIFA Superstars game, I recognize you. You sign on through an EA ID called Nucleus, but then you go by the Xbox.
Nucleus?
It's called Nucleus, yeah.
Okay. And that's your sort of proprietary system that essentially captures user data.
That's our proprietary database, exactly right, that recognizes, knows who you are, but more importantly, gives you recognition and achievement awards for being Cory at FIFA.com, if you will. And then allows you to be able to go and buy the 360 version or the PC version, and it will say,
Sorry.
hey,
jargon alert. Xbox 360.
Yes, I'm sorry. The
PC,
Xbox.
we won't explain what that means.
Yeah, hopefully we know what PC is. But that allows us to be able to recognize you and then reward you. So it says, hey, Cory, welcome back. Thanks for playing FIFA Superstars. Here's 10,000 points to help you now with your FIFA game. So the key is, exactly to your point, for 20-odd years now, it's our 23rd year of Madden, for example, we've delivered either a cartridge or a disc, kind of said, enjoy it, we're moving on to the next game. That business model is behind us now. We're now looking at live operations, 365 days a year, making a game like Madden or FIFA less of a thing you buy and more of a place you go to.
You're really saying baby bathwater out. You're going to start this new kind of business.
Well, you still have the package goods still important because it becomes the platform from which you do your digital revenue. We look at our Madden or FIFA consumer as somebody that buys a disc, but then we start looking at almost like a mobile phone company does with what we call a more jargon ARPU. Average revenue per user.
Right.
And so and the video game business never really did that, but there's a lifetime value to our consumer. There's an ability for us to be able to provide more content every single day to our consumer.
Does that mean that your marketing costs also can go up because you're looking at the lifetime value of a consumer, so therefore you can spend a lot of money getting them because you realize they're worth more to you?
Our lifetime marketing is variable. So in other words, when we launch Madden, if you watch ESPN, you know Madden's being launched. But then we look at how we go and flex that marketing throughout the year. Viral marketing, marketing on social networks like Facebook, all of that becomes more cost effective because we're doing community management, which is what we do. Millions of people. As we sit here right now on the floor of E3, there are 2 million people today playing our games on FIFA alone. And so managing that becomes important.
So, first of all, before we throw out the console business, this is a huge business. It's a lot bigger than the online business, yes?
Absolutely. It is still an incredibly important part of our business, of this industry. We're not throwing it out at all. But we do see over the next 5 to 10 years a transition, as we've seen in music, as we're now seeing in movies, that with increased bandwidth, with increased inexpensive storage on your PC or even on your console, that the movement to direct to consumer, the ability for me to serve you directly to your home is a reality. And it's incumbent upon us as content providers in the entertainment business to be able to prepare our company for that and allow you as the consumer to have the choice of driving to Best Buy or Walmart or actually just downloading it directly to your device.
Let me ask you about, this notion of owning the consumer is cute. But consumers don't like to be owned.
No.
And they like to be able to not have all their information kept with one company. But we keep hearing about companies like yours, companies like Sony that really want to solidify their business around owning a consumer and not letting them sort of, or they can go anywhere,
right.
but keep them there. Does that work?
Well, we never use the phrase owning the consumer. We'll talk about managing our community, providing value for our community, but you're exactly right. I often relate to Cheers. We're a bar, everybody knows your name. You walk in, everybody goes, Cory. But you can go to the bar next door if the service isn't good or you don't like the beer, or you could go to the bar down the street. No different than our business. We don't own you because you're right, you don't want to be owned and you want the ability to go somewhere else. But if we provide you great content, great experiences, good value for money, I like to think you come and see us every day.
Let me ask about a philosophy of in-game purchases. It's another thing that's revolutionizing the game business.
Right.
But in some games, the users seem to like this. But so for other games, the gamers are really irritated that they got to pay to play a little better. How do you figure that out with your games? Do you take a line in the sand and say, once you pay for the console game, you own it, you don't have to pay more to do better? Like, how do you negotiate that?
Most of our consumers pay in this country $60 for a game. From the perspective of my development teams know you've got to provide a minimum of $60 in value. What we don't do is strip things away from what should have been on the disc and then try and resell them to you later. We do not do that at all. Adding extra value, and then it's optional. You don't have to buy players. You don't have to buy chemistry. You don't have to buy things. It's very important that people understand that you do not have a situation where we strip away content from the disc and then try and resell it. It's not what we do.
Right. Peter, first of all, you guys made some announcements today that FIFA and Madden will have a Connect feature. How do you see motion sensing evolving in the future of gaming?
Well, we think first of all, Emily, that it broadens the gaming market. More and more people are coming in and calling themselves gamers through technology like Connect. They did it with the Wii a couple of years ago. We're looking at what we're now doing. Of course, Nintendo announced the Wii U. We're looking at technology to be able to broaden the market rather than make a deeper experience. And that's important when you add sports, the level of that. Motion and sports obviously go together. So Connect for us becomes important. The PlayStation Move is important for us, as was Wii with Motion and Motion Plus before it. So I think there's a democratization that motion brings in. There's no longer the intimidation of buttons and triggers and sticks. It's simply, if you can do this, if you can move your arms and move your body and use your mouth, you're a gamer.
We were speaking with an investor yesterday, Mike Maples, and he thinks that the next big innovation in gaming, beyond social, beyond mobile, is local. What do you think of that?
Is local, sorry?
Local, as in like the Groupon of games.
Oh, well, I would be interested to hear what he means by that as regards the ability. What we look at as local, we look at our sports as being tribal. And by that I mean, give you an example, I'm from Liverpool in England. The locality that I see is that I live and die for my team, Liverpool. What we announced on Monday with EA Sports Football Club is my ability to play FIFA anywhere, anytime, on any platform, but represent my club, Liverpool, in the north of England. There are hundreds of thousands of us that play as Liverpool on FIFA. So you take this element of, yes, we all love to play a soccer game, and then you localize it, if you will, by personalizing it to your local team, whether it's baseball with, in my case, the Boston Red Sox, whether it's the NFL, New England Patriots, of which I'm a fan. I guess in my world, localization means being specific to a particular sports team that you follow.
I think you made that local by calling it, translating for us, calling it soccer, not football.
I did. I Americanized it for you.
I'm really grateful for that. Let me ask you about this, though. There are different kinds of game players now.
Yes.
And there always have been. And we've seen it with things like Tetris, which suddenly people are playing games that didn't play games. What do we know now about the different types of gamers that we didn't know 5 years ago?
Well, I think that technology has enabled a lot more people to be gamers. We looked at what social family gaming did about 3-4 years ago, things like Rock Band. The Wii itself, to its credit, brought more and more people in because of the simplicity of playing a game itself. If you can move and press a button.
So what are those categories then? There's the hardcore gamer, and that's the guy who sits in front and stays up all night and
it used to be
beer and Cheetos and plays games.
And eats pizza. Yeah. It used to be as simple as casual and core. Now we like to actually look at it as what platform you're playing on. So, Facebook brings hundreds of millions of people into the world of gaming through what we do in sports, through what our company does. Our acquisition of Playfish, I think, was a great demonstration of how important we think that is. But if there was one barrier, Cory, that got in the way of being billions of gamers, that was the complexity of the game and also the time it took. And also the cost. Now it's free, it takes you 3 or 4 minutes, it's very social, you're having fun, and there's no skill required.
So you guys are
Peter,
doing free, you guys are getting there? Oh, the other family.
Sorry, Emily, go ahead.
Peter, when you develop these games, how much interaction is there with the actual teams and the actual players? What goes into that?
Well, we bring in, so anything from some motion capture, Emily, where we need the articulation of the body. We'll bring in everybody from a Tiger Woods to a NFL wide receiver to a quarterback. We have the world's biggest motion capture studio in Vancouver, Canada, where our games are developed, and we will actually capture their motion. We will then sit down with panels of NFL players, professional soccer players, and then try and get from them what they think the authenticity of the experience should be on the field. We talk to basketball players, we talk to golfers. So the ability to be able to get the emotion of sport is very important to us. Go ahead,
that must be so interesting. I mean, what kind of feedback do you get from them after you create these things? You know, what's their reaction?
Well, their reaction is usually, I'm faster than this, I'm better than this, you guys have shafted me on my speed. I tell you, Madden, which is probably a game you've heard about, which is our NFL game, it generally starts in May, where professional players will start calling our studio, lobbying for better skills, better speed, better rating. And when we actually publish the ratings, it is a big deal. And believe us, our phone rings off the hook. The feedback we get is, I'm better than what you have generally given me in the game itself. So, and we literally interact with hundreds of professional athletes around the world.
Peter, regarding the Madden franchise,
yes.
What is the dollar cost of an NFL lockout to you next year?
Well, one thing we've done, Cory, is with our partners at the NFL and the NFLPA, we have managed the downside in a lockout. So, you know, from a sales perspective, it could be as much as a third. We've said we could see 30
to how much?
30 to 35%. It could be as much as, from our perspective, $80, $70 million in gross revenue off the top. Having said,
so just to be clear, it could cost you $70 million if there's a lockout.
Gross revenue. No. Our gross revenue could be down by $70 million. What we worry about is what our net effect on our P&L is. I can tell you this, and it's been publicly stated, our partners at the NFL, our partners at the NFLPA have been very sympathetic. We're very unique. We actually invest in creating NFL experiences, unlike a regular sponsor who puts their logo, the NFL logo, on a can of soda or a can of beer or a mobile phone. We develop and generate fans for the NFL through our experiences. So they've been very good to us, very sympathetic, both they and the Players Association. They've managed our downside risk.
Well, I think of the role of EA, and it was related to the NFL and some other franchises, as that of an owner, in that you guys have a long-term interest in the health and success and the viability of that sport.
Yes.
What is the thing, therefore, looking at it almost like an owner, what do you worry most about? I mean, this strike in baseball really hurt baseball for a long time because people came back to the game very jaded.
Yeah.
What do you worry about for a lockout could cause for the long-term viability of the game? And just generally, what do you worry about could damage the long-term viability of the game?
I think the concern you have, this lockout's different than many of the others lockout. This is about, there's a lot of revenue at stake, and it's about the players wanting what they believe their fair share, and the owners wanting to be able to invest a lot of money in new stadiums. And so, both as a licensee, a big licensee at the NFL and the PA, as a fan of the game itself, and as a guy who looks at the business of sports, you do get concerned that the attention of sports fans goes elsewhere. We know from our experience with NHL lockouts, baseball before that, and in fact, I remember the original NFL lockout where replacement players came in, if you recall that, is that people not only get disenchanted, they get angry. Because it's Sunday afternoon, what am I going to do? Right. So the concern we have, we love the sport, we're very invested, we're in our 23rd year of shipping a Madden game, is that not only is there a year where you say, I've got a revenue problem, but there is maybe another year before people come back to the sport. So that's my concern. Well, I think we all hope that everything gets resolved.
As a football fan, I'll back you right there. Yeah. Right. EA Sports President Peter, we're really glad to have you.
Thank you, Cory. Pleasure.
Interesting outlook on the game industry that you know so well.